Hi, everyone, and welcome back to ProjectPros Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Agbede, and I'm really glad you're tuning in today. In this second episode, I had the absolute pleasure of sitting down with Helen Tanner, the founder of Data³, a data and AI consultancy doing fantastic work with SMEs to fast track growth through smart, practical innovations. Ellen and I talked about the journey of building our company, the challenges of managing projects in fast-paced environment, and why communication is the make or break factor in every project. She also shared valuable lessons on handling difficult stakeholders, building strong client relationships, and how outsourcing, especially through project management as a service, PMaaS, can be a game changer for growing businesses. It's a conversation full of real insights, practical wisdom, and honesty. And I'm excited for you to hear it. So let's dive into my chat with Helen Tanner. I'm so glad you could make it down. In fact, I'm so overwhelmed to have someone like yourself joining us on this podcast. And I'm sure our listeners as well are going to be so amazed to have you tell us about your experience. So, for our viewers, could you please introduce yourself to us, please, Helen?
Yeah, hello everyone, and thank you for having me, Josh. I'm Helen Tanner. I founded Data³ nearly 8 years ago. We are data and AI consultants and builders. So we often work with SMEs. We go in, we do a bit of an audit, understand what they've got in place, understand what they're trying to achieve, and then help them work out which data and AI tools they can leverage that are really going to fast track their growth.
Oh, wow. AI is more like a buzzword at the moment. How is that going in the industry at the moment? How do you find it?
Yeah, well, it's been around a long time, right? So we've been doing AI since we founded in 2017,
Oh, wow.
but that was the old-fashioned AI, the kind of, not the chat GPT, right? The old style machine learning, predictive analytics style of AI. Whereas now, yeah, it's totally gone mainstream, hasn't it? So,
Sure.
even my parents are all over it. And so, yeah, when I first set up the business, I felt I was selling solutions to problems that people didn't
Mm,
really know existed. And
mm.
now everybody knows they've got a chance to leverage data and AI. So yeah, it's a really interesting market.
Wow, amazing. That's good to know. So, when you then reach out to a client, so could you tell us or talk us through your customer journey there as regards to identifying the problems and how you end up coming up with a solution and bring to the, the case studies that you always had?
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. So we tend to start work with the client on we've got a kind of three-step process. And step one is discovery, where we go in and we spend a couple of weeks understanding, talking to their stakeholders, understanding what they're trying to achieve. Are they looking to grow? Are they looking to expand into new areas? Are they looking to save money, make more money? We properly understand their requirements. We then look at all of the different technology they've got in place and the resources that's around that and the costs that they're spending on that to really get a grounding of where are they today when it comes to data and AI from a technology, but also from a people, process, policies, risk perspective. And during that, we use some of our proprietary tools, like we've got a Data³ data maturity score, and we've got a Data³ AI readiness score. So that's a way
Oh,
of
wow.
turning our assessment into something quantifiable as well.
Hmm.
So we usually do that in the first couple of weeks. We then spend 2 weeks doing the design phase, which is where we create a customized data and AI strategy and plan for them. And that goes from the big picture, the art of the possible innovation ideas, all of those exciting, inspirational
Yeah.
things, all the way through to a really grounded, fully costed, fully resourced action plan with phasing. So they know exactly what needs to be done and the exact costs of it all the way through from a people, technology, and licenses perspective. and covers everything from processes, policies, as well as the technology side. So we tend to do that, and then there's an element with the client of helping educate and upskill and align the plan with their budget and their business priorities and those types of things. Then we go into our third step, which is deliver, and that can really vary. But often we are starting with setting up or reconfiguring their technology they've got in place. That might be a data warehouse and some reporting software. It's often connecting lots of disparate data together that's usually disconnected and those types of things. It's often helping them with data quality issues. It's often putting in data governance and data quality and data security processes and policies and technology solutions, and enabling them to, usually in the priority order of getting their reporting right, then getting their processes automated to remove the manual effort, and then diving into analytics and data science and those kind of things. And in our mind, AI can be is involved in all parts of that process. It's not a separate bit about AI. AI is integrated into all of that. And then ideally, we want our clients to be our partners for life. So we're all about building really great relationships with them, doing what we say we will. We have a same day, next day response rate promise with them, keeping things really simple for them, and really focusing on not the technology, but the outcomes and what's important for them. And we've worked really hard over the years to get our NPS score to, on our net satisfaction score to, net promoter score to plus 92. And that
Wow.
hasn't always been the case, right? When I first set up, we weren't testing it, but I know we had some dissatisfied clients because we didn't have that nailed in the start. We've worked really hard over the last, particularly 2 years, investing in our client experience so that we deliver a great client experience every single time. And we want our clients to be, we want to be our clients' partners for life. So that's really important.
But I'm quite, very, very excited and very, very, I'll say, the kind of the best word to me now. Um, you know, the fact that you're transparent that you didn't get it right at first and now you've gotten it right is, while I'll say commendable. I know, yeah, commendable, that's a word, commendable. Yeah, because most businesses will not be transparent enough to say, look, we didn't get it right before, and this is where we are. So, well, I'll really, really commend you on that. So, talking about that journey then, obviously, every business that you win or every contract comes as a project. Obviously, there's going to be this business as usual and then support. From your experience, so it's been 8 years now, and you've had so many projects there. What would be your biggest lessons? Obviously, we've talked about the customer satisfaction, got to 92, plus 92 now. But what are your biggest lessons from projects of the project delivery point of view?
Yeah, so we've delivered about 300
Wow.
data and AI projects over the years, more than that, kind of lost count. So a lot of different projects. I think the biggest lesson is that it all comes down to communication. And, there's nothing that beats regular communication and one single place, one single plan. So, I think everything, I really think every problem you have on a project will be caused by communication, and every success of a project will be down to communication. So for me, it all starts and stops there. And every project I can think of that hasn't gone so well, it's been through communication, which might be misunderstanding the brief right at the start, through to miscommunicating things as you go, through to not communicating things. So I guess there's misunderstandings, and then there's missing communications. But every project I can think of that's gone wrong, it's because of communications, and every project I can think of that's gone right, it's been down to communications. So and there's nothing that beats just a super simple one-page project plan, right? I think things can be keeping things simple as well, so that people get it. those are my experiences and what I would focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. So talking about communication, I think when we talk about communication, sometimes it might have some difficult stakeholders as well because you, as a delivery manager or as a business owner, you're trying to deliver and try to do your best. But sometimes it might have some difficult stakeholders, and I'm sure you must have had such individuals or stakeholders as well. Over the years, how have you been able to overcome the hurdles of managing difficult stakeholders?
I think people are always the problem, right? And people are always what makes projects complicated. Um, I think I think mostly those difficult stakeholders mostly are not intending to be difficult.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
If you start with that assumption, don't get me wrong, there are some arseholes out there who just get a kick out of being an arsehole. Don't get me wrong, but I believe they are in the minority and they are rare. I think people become difficult stakeholders because they're not being communicated with well enough or clearly enough or regularly enough.
Mm.
And often they don't know that that's the reason that they're feeling frustrated, or they lack trust or confidence. They can't communicate that in a I think I'm being difficult because I don't have trust and confidence, and the reason being is because I'm not being communicated with well or
Right.
frequently enough,
Mm.
or at the right detail. If only they would communicate in that very simple way, then you'd be able to work out those difficult stakeholders. But I think most of the time it will be down again to communications. I'm a very direct person, so I value people being direct with me. So I think the way to deal with it is to, as soon as there's any kind of semblance of someone being difficult, is to call them out on it straight away, and go,
It's direct.
I can sense your frustration. I can sense your mistrust.
Mm.
I can sense your anger, whatever it is. Call them out on it and go, can we try and work together and work out, what is the root cause of all these things? Why do you not trust things? Why are you frustrated? Why are you angry? And try and help. And sometimes sometimes the right time is not to do it at the time that they're angry, right? But to schedule it for afterwards. But I think calling them out on it and going that you're clearly unhappy. Can we talk through why? Is it that you haven't got the information you need? Is it that you're unhappy with the decision making? Is it the speed? Is it the quality? Like, trying to get to the nub of the problem with them. And I think, people, difficult stakeholders, as I say, apart from the ones who just are arseholes,
Yeah.
difficult stakeholders are often will respect that directness, and that you've called me out on it. I now respect you, and with a commitment of, I don't want you to be angry. I don't want you to be frustrated. So I think again, it all comes down to communication, but call them out as being a difficult stakeholder, and get to the root cause. And often the root cause will be a disagreement on something or a lack of understanding on something, and then you can deal with that something rather than them being difficult.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sometimes, assuming that an individual is being difficult and not actually trying to understand what the problem is, could be a major problem. Assumptions can be a major problem. But I'm just a little bit intrigued about the approach of diplomacy. So, being direct is great. Where does diplomacy then come in? How would you balance that, especially in a very, very tense political atmosphere where you have some stakeholders who want things and stuff? Say, for example, IT versus HR. For a particular solution, IT wants this because they want this, or HR wants this because of their processes. So, how do you then balance such?
I think you have to always come at it from a place of kindness and respect for people. So I would never call someone out on something that I thought might embarrass them or impact their pride, for instance. Sometimes we don't know though, right? Sometimes we don't know that something's a trigger, but so whenever we do, we should have those conversations one-to-one. So I think, there's a time and a place for things. Sometimes things should be discussed publicly, sometimes they shouldn't. Sometimes there's a time and place when it comes to sometimes things get just too heated that it's not the right time. Sometimes things are too busy and it's not the right time. So I think there's a timing around it. And I think if in doubt, one-to-one conversations with people are the way to do it, so that you don't inadvertently embarrass them. Because again, none of us want to do that, right? Or none of us would intentionally want to do that unless there was a bit of a revenge and something you perceive someone to be, as I say, a bit of an arsehole. So I think I would think of it as we're dealing with human beings. Human beings are more emotional than we will ever admit. We often make emotional decisions that then we back up with logics and fact. So I think it's recognizing people that are emotional. A lot of people have things going on that we don't know, right? So it could be that they've got a load of shit in their personal life and they're not communicating that. So I think if in doubt, one-to-one. But equally, we shouldn't be afraid to talk publicly about, getting to a culture of disagreeing publicly being okay. I think as long as it's not personal, right? As long as it's not, you and I should be able to disagree about something and respect the fact that we've got different perspectives, and that's a really healthy culture, right? That teams can disagree with each other, and that be totally acceptable, because you've got a different experience to mine and we have a different view on this, and we're both going to listen to each other. So, but there's a time, sometimes you can nurture that culture. Sometimes it's the wrong timing. So I don't know. I think we all get it wrong sometimes, and you've just got to dust yourself down and learn. I think if we all approach things with kindness and respect, then most of the time, even when you get it wrong, people forgive you.
Sure, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, we are all working towards a goal. There's nothing personal. It's just trying to get, something resolved there, especially when you have too many kind of conflicting individuals in the room, man. You just want to say, guys.
100%. 100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to move away from that topic now and just talk about, project management as a service now. Could you tell us your experience as regard hiring a project manager? So have you always gone through the process of getting the project manager to deliver your project, or you've always done it yourself, or you use probably a resource within the organization who understands project management to just do it yourself? And how has that been going for you, if that's the case?
Good question. I think there's two parts to this question. I think there's, when I was in the corporate world, I worked for big corporates, and therefore there was often a project management team, or a program manager, and looking after project managers, and you get a project manager assigned. So therefore, in those corporates, project management was a skill and a knowledge and an expertise in its own right that was brought into the projects that I was working on in those big corporates. In Data³, we run really lean. All of our team are data and AI professionals first, from consultants to architects to engineers to analysts to developers. So we run really lean, and we outsource all our support services, and therefore project management is a part of the team's job. So there's some accountability on every project for our team. We have a client manager roles that do, and the client managers are the project managers. But it's we call it client management, because actually there's multiple projects for multiple clients, so
Right.
it's less of a it's less of one big project. It's more about traffic management and resource management and how the different kind of projects align together. So yeah, very different experience in Data³, which is a small business. We're about kind of 25 people compared to the corporates when it was tens of thousands of people globally.
Absolutely true. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's the best way to go when it comes to making sure that you're saving resource, having technical guys understand project management. So that will lead me to my next question then. How do you perceive the industry when it comes to training individuals who are subject matter experts in understanding product management? So say you are a full stack developer, and then you're being trained to understand what project management is. That way you can then, be a senior developer, manage a project, and then obviously supervise any junior developer that is working on that project. Do you think that trend is something that most organizations will be tending towards?
Yeah, I think I'm a believer that probably these things are, on the job training and coaching, and is the more formal part, but also, kind of with my business, it's all about having processes and checks and controls around that, so that we're not relying on somebody's brain and the training they've done, but having processes, templates, checklists in place, so that you don't have to have done the training, because we've got the Data³ way that we run projects, and this is the template we use, and this is the process we use, and these are the different gates that we're going through, and at different stages, here's what's expected. So for us, it's around on the job training, and then ensuring that we have those processes documented, and then training in those processes and checklists, and constantly evolving and continuously improving them as well.
Brilliant. Wow, that makes a lot of sense. So, from what you said now, it's very evident that yourself, you understand project management, so you understand the processes. So you've come up with the Data³ project management process, and then you're training everyone that comes on board to then make use of that as a template. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think most organizations will learn from that. We need to make sure that you know what you're doing well, have that process detail, and then pass it on. Yeah, look, Ellen,
I think so. And I think there's an element there of, I'm naturally a super organized person. So that's what I expect of others.
Yeah.
There's an element of, the corporate training that I had kind of really set me up with really good foundations. And then it's, therefore, my corporate background, whilst I don't want, we do not run Data³ like a corporate. There's elements of that, those controls and guidelines and processes and checklists that just make it easy. The way I say to my team, it's all about making it easier for you to be high performing in your jobs. So yeah, it's having that kind of mindset.
That makes a lot of sense. I think that will lead me to my next question then. Have you heard about the word project management as a service, PMaaS? Is that something that you've heard about before? And if you have, what's your take about it? Is that a way most organizations are going to be turning towards?
Only from you, Josh. Right, so that shows that you're a thought leader in this space, right? And I think I think it makes total sense. So we outsource everything, in terms of our marketing work, our design work, our operations, our bookkeeping, all of the different functions that we think, are not core to what we do. We are data and AI experts. We don't have to have the best operational systems and those types of things.
Okay.
Yeah, so we outsource everything that's not core to data and AI expertise. So we therefore focus on recruiting and retaining talented data and AI experts, but we don't want a team of non-data and AI experts. And I've learned this the hard way over the years. I have had kind of people in support roles, and it just didn't work. So I'm a big one for outsourcing everything. I think we're all used to marketing agencies, website agencies,
Yeah.
bookkeeping services, software developers, and data and AI consultants now, right? But 5, 6, 7 years ago, that wasn't a norm, and now it's become a norm. And I think the same will be said with project manager as a service, or project manager consultants, or whatever you kind of that kind of function becomes. That I think there will be a why don't we outsource it? I think so I can see it absolutely growing. I think it could be interesting in that I think what we value in project managers, what we being, the business world, is sector understanding and expertise, and business understanding and expertise. So I wonder if there might be financial services project managers as a service type thing. So people with understanding of certain sectors, and therefore they will understand the nuances in financial services, as an example. So I think that could be the way that it could go. But I think increasingly the narrative in the press is about how being lean and having the least number of employees is the best sign of success. And I think therefore outsourcing will become more and more prolific in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the main benefits of outsourcing product management service is the fact that you don't have to go through the long ordeals employing a project manager. So
Yeah.
you go through the recruitment agency, you pay 25% of the hiring cost, and the project manager may not even be fit for purpose. They might not be blending well, and you've wasted a amount of time, wasted money, and they're not fit for purpose. But when you outsource project management to like ProjectPros, you jump on that project on day one. Yeah. And we also take responsibility. So that's what recruitment agencies will do. They won't take responsibility on the performance of whoever they you end up hiring, because they say you interviewed the individual you wanted them. So
Absolutely. And I think like generally, like I think we've all got really comfortable with part-timers and fractional and
fractionals.
that whole kind of world, that you can actually get much more talented people on a fractional or part-time or on-demand basis than you could from a full-time employee.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
can get much more talented people, much more experienced people, and therefore it's the ROI on that spend is much better than getting in an employee who might be mediocre.
Yeah, and the cost as well, because with the new NI increase, as a business owner, there's a lot that goes into just so just look at the cost benefits, honestly, especially
Yeah.
with the fact that a project is always a short term, so it's not a long term kind of thing. Yeah. Wow, look, thank you so much, Ellie. It's been very, very nice having a conversation with you regarding what you do, how you run your business, and also how you run your projects. So just last thoughts then. What would you like to tell our viewers as regards to your services and how they can reach out to you if they've got any data projects?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, reach out to me via Josh, or I'm on LinkedIn, Helen Tanner. Yeah, we're solving all sorts of data and AI problems for our clients. And after they work with us, they've got automated reporting, automated processes. They've got a really strong data and AI roadmap that their stakeholders can sign up to. And they're really truly leveraging data and AI to fast track the growth of their businesses. So yeah, would love to chat to you about any of your data or AI opportunities or problems.
Awesome. Well, it's been so amazing having this conversation with you. Thank you so much for raising this interview, and I look forward to having further conversations with you in the future. And I wish you best of luck at Data³. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Josh. It's always fun chatting to you.
Absolutely. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.